Welcome back. You're still watching Fut-Afrique. We're having all things conversations that will set you up well for the next AFCON that will take place out in Cote d'Ivoire. We're officially a month away and we've been dissecting for the past weeks Group A, B, and this week we're going into Group C. The teams that make up this group are teams that know each other very well. Senegal being the reigning champions, Cameroon, who many people want to see them lift the title, Gambia, the surprise package from the last AFCON, and Guinea, well, I don't have much to say about Guinea.
Guinea also a nation that's done very well in the AFCON tournament.
Really?
They've not won it per se, but they've consistently been part of the tournament over the years.
Fair enough.
You know, so that's the key thing.
Repeat offenders.
I don't know, offenders part will actually come into play, but I'll say repeat appearances.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a better way to
they're literally your regulars.
Okay.
You know that when you read names, you're going to see Guinea there.
They're going to be there.
They're going to be there. They don't get far, but they're going to be there. You guarantee they're going to be there. So, I mean, you mentioned the fact that these teams do know each other very well. In Guinea, when you talk about them, first of all, they were in the same group with the Senegal in the previous edition in Cameroon. But that game was a very interesting one. It's a goalless draw, in the way Senegal to eventually win the tournament.
Their strength and the experience of being at the AFCON.
They do that, but also they met Senegal 2 more times, also Tunisia, 1994, 2006, in Egypt as well. They lost both those matches against Senegal. Cameroon and the Gambia, they met in the quarterfinals. You mentioned at the top also, and it was a victory for Cameroon. Cameroon and Senegal, now they have been at the AFCON together in the same groupings, in the same setup for the longest of time. From 1990 to 2017, they've met each other. Senegal are yet to lose a game against Cameroon. Yeah. That is a good thing for them when they look at that. But over and above that, Guinea and Cameroon also were in the same group in Group A in 1998, Burkina Faso, 2015, Equatorial Guinea as well in the same group. No winners in both those matches.
Yes.
So that's the big story. Senegal coming to this year as the defending champions.
Yes.
How they qualified was absolutely brilliant.
They were one of the first teams to qualify.
Yeah. In March of this year, we really knew that Senegal had booked their ticket because they've qualified ahead of Mozambique in the same group with them. They had 14 points overall, 4 wins and 2 draws in that group. So Sadio Mane was a top scorer for them. That's the question we're talking about, why Mane was within the peak. Yes. He was a top scorer for them in a qualifying phase.
And then he missed the actual competition.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was also top qualifier for this tournament.
Yes. They're
going into as well, sir. That he's talking about Sadio Mane. So that's a key thing for them, talking about Senegal. But then you have also a Gambia team.
Yeah, let's talk about Gambia and how they literally, in 2021, solidified their dominance. I think they're not called the Scorpions for nothing. That thing bites you without you seeing it.
Their qualifying phase was very interesting for me, too, because I looked at them and I said, the fact that they got to the quarterfinals, can they come back? Yeah. That's the first thing. The pressure that comes with that, They were very stingy when it comes to talk about conceding goals.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they did what needed to be done. They managed to get the points, which is very important. They just like you talk about their story, the same story as Guinea. They qualified second in their groupings. They managed to literally win the same number of games, draw the same number of games, and actually lose the same number of games, just like Guinea. The only difference was the number of goals they scored versus the number of goals they conceded. So that's how they find themselves qualifying for this competition. And I believe that if you talk about National Team of the Year overall, they were, for me, supposed to be one of those high in the mix for how well they did. But it is always going back to the one simple thing that we mentioned at the top. The dates.
The dates as to when all the successes came with them.
Yeah, because it was between November and September. Yeah. So their success came in January of 2022. Therefore, they were out of that bracket. Yeah. So their story falls into the 2022 awards more than the 2023 awards, to say so to speak, in a story point of view. But that, for me, is a good one. Yeah. Can they
come back,
punch higher? Can they really come out and showcase that their performance in the last edition was no fluke?
Yeah.
We'll see that.
Well, we'll wait and see as to Gambia's Scorpions. Will they be able to pass the quarterfinals for their second appearance at the AFCON? Only time will tell. Now, one nation that has an association that's made up of personnel that everyone loves, that being Cameroon. We can see this, that it's an aging squad. And there's no doubt, we won't even be surprised. Come the end of this AFCON and most of the players talking even about the captain and his brother, should they say, we're done, we've served our time, this is what we could do? What would a victory mean to Cameroon at this point, also considering obviously the association, but also their coach?
When you look at Cameroon in totality, you'll talk about first that they know their history belongs to them. Sure. One, because the man that is in charge of the FA is the man that has scored the most goals in the AFCON tournament. one of the youngest players to score at the AFCON tournament.
He still looks so good, may I say. Did you see him at the CAF Awards?
Yeah. And then also, what is also very enticing for me in this group, Itu?
Yeah.
You got Aliou Cissé for Senegal. You have on the other side for Cameroon, Rigobert Song. When they played and they met in a match where eventually go to penalties, the two of them took penalties.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
Can they get them to the promised land? That's the big question.
It's going to be a battle of the dreads. The dreaded man who has locks that are stronger than the other.